Hello, and welcome to CreekWatch. Today, we're going to talk about stormwater. Stormwater plays a very important role in what enters our creeks and rivers. Stormwater is runoff from rainstorms, hailstorms, or melting snow that is shed from rural and urban landscapes.
As it travels over land or hard surfaces such as paved streets, parking lots, rooftops, and sidewalks, it picks up contaminants including litter, road salt, bacteria, chemicals, and dog poop that impacts the quality of downstream water bodies.
You may be wondering how stormwater from your neighborhood reaches our rivers and creeks. Stormwater is transferred from the roads and sidewalks through a number of ways, but generally it is through a storm drain in the road or sidewalk.
Once in the drain, it is transferred through a pipe to a stormwater outfall, then into our rivers and creeks. Stormwater outfalls can generally be identified by a sign with the number. The reason these outflows need to be labeled is if there is ever a pollutant entering the river or creek through a specific drain, it can be identified and either blocked or closed to limit damage to the water body.
It is important to emphasize that stormwater is not treated, meaning it does not get transferred to a wastewater facility. Unlike water that goes down a drain inside your house, stormwater washes chemicals and surface materials that are normally removed in a wastewater treatment plant directly into the river.
The reason stormwater is not treated is because of the volume of water created by precipitation. An extremely large facility would need to be built in order to meet seasonal stormwater demands. Instead, what we can do is anticipate the type of pollutants that stormwater transfers into rivers and creeks, make proactive choices that stop stormwater from carrying pollutants, and test our creeks and rivers to identify when pollution is occurring.
Stormwater can have such a direct impact on the water quality of our creeks and rivers that potentially polluting activities, such as washing your car in your driveway, can lead to hefty fines.
Stormwater affects the results of every test we perform at CreekWatch. Remember, the essence of stormwater is untreated runoff.
Now let's talk about the tests. Regarding temperature, stormwater can dramatically affect the temperature of creeks. For example, during the summer, stormwater comes down on our roofs, across concrete and roads, gets heated, and then flows into our creeks and rivers.
Stormwater also affects turbidity. After a storm event, runoff collects sediment, oils, and other grits as water rushes across the surfaces of streets and pathways and ultimately ends up draining into our streams and rivers through stormwater outflows. This will affect the clarity of the water.
Stormwater can also affect our ammonia and nitrogen levels. Sources of ammonia and nitrogen can come from natural sources, as well as lawn fertilizers and things like dog poop. During storm events, precipitation will run down driveways, sidewalks, and lawns, collecting ammonia and nitrogen-rich materials and affect the ammonia and nitrogen levels in the runoff.
With pH, rain events and snowmelts will enter stormwater drains, and depending on the acid or basic chemical composition of the runoff, the pH will be affected.
There are natural levels of chloride in the environment, but at CreekWatch we are focused on the salt that we use on our roads, sidewalks, and driveways in the winter, which contains high amounts of chloride and will enter stormwater drains as runoff from melting events. Typically, after a big snowfall, we will see a spike in chloride levels due to increased amounts brought on by stormwater outflow.
Like ammonia and nitrogen, phosphorus is very important for plant fertilizer, and during storm events, we will see an increased level entering stormwater through runoff.
Stormwater has a less obvious effect on dissolved oxygen. This is because the amount of dissolved oxygen is determined by aquatic plant growth, water temperature, and the speed of the water. We can start to make connections between the qualities of stormwater, for example, the temperature and levels of fertilizers present in that stormwater runoff, and how those qualities then contribute to higher or lower levels of dissolved oxygen. More fertilizer in the water will cause aquatic plants to grow, which will affect the amount of dissolved oxygen.
Data comparisons help highlight stormwater impacts on our creeks, and reports are published annually on World Water Day. You will likely find that after storm events, your test results will be very different.
As you can see, stormwater is our dirty little secret.
Therefore, it's super important that we have volunteers like you here at CreekWatch for monitoring the health of our creeks and rivers.